Here's more wrestling news for March 8th, 2023, and we're starting off today with AEW. MJF was his usual heel self during the recent Iron Man match at Revolution, but his most villainous action wasn't aimed at his opponent, Bryan Danielson. After MJF threw some tequila in the face of a young fan, AEW had to work hard to make things right, giving away free tickets and merchandise, but MJF's actions also affected WWE. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that originally a segment on Raw was going to have a wrestler throw a drink in the face of another wrestler, and some thought that it was a shot at AEW. It turns out that this wasn't a dig at the competition, as the segment had already been booked before Raw, and most of Raw's creative plans had been completed before Revolution was on the air. While WWE had the drink-throwing segment first, it's likely that anyone who doesn't follow all the backstage news would have just seen the segment as a shot at AEW, and in poor taste given how upset the young fan was after their interaction with MJF. Ultimately, WWE decided to nix the segment, which was probably for the best, and with Tony Khan unhappy with MJF after what transpired, it may be a long time yet before the AEW World Champion throws anything at any fan. It was on last week's SmackDown that Ronda Rousey appeared in a sling, and it was confirmed that she has aggravated a previous injury in her arm. It was also reported that this injury shouldn't stop the former Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion from competing at WrestleMania, but it turns out she won't be going into a match at 100%. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer talked about WWE's plans for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, stating that the plan remains for the pair to challenge for the Women's Tag Team Championships. He said, "Rousey and Belair are still getting the tag team title shot has been planned all along and likely winning them. Unless Rousey's injury doesn't heal, which they are right now of the impression that she's not going to be 100% healed, but the impression is that she will be ready to do the match." If WWE are indeed planning on the WWE Women's Tag Team titles to be on the line at WrestleMania, then that means Becky Lynch and Lita will be competing twice, as this week's Raw saw the pair and Trish Stratus confirm a match against Damage Control for April. As one of the biggest names in the mainstream on WWE's roster, Rousey competing at WrestleMania was never in any serious doubt, but when she wrestles, the UFC legend will be at a distinct disadvantage. Over to NXT now, as this week's show saw the Grayson Waller effect with special guest Shawn Michaels, as the two have had their share of issues over the past few weeks. After some barbs by Waller, who even brought up Triple H's cardiac event in 2021, the Australian challenged Michaels to a match, but Shawn had a different idea in mind. Instead, HBK introduced Johnny Gargano as Waller's opponent for NXT Stand and Deliver, and the former NXT champion wasted no time in taking Waller out to conclude the segment. Gargano had been part of NXT when he left WWE in late 2021, and this match will be his first match back on the Gold brand, as he looks to get some payback on behalf of his all-time hero. More from NXT, as this week was the Roadblock special, and WWE had a very special debut for the show. On the broadcast, Dragon Lee was seen in the crowd, and WWE had originally wanted him to appear at NXT Vengeance Day, but visa issues nixed those plans. As to when Dragon Lee will wrestle for WWE, that remains to be seen. And are you excited for the former AAA World Tag Team Champion in NXT? Let us know in the comments. If you've watched enough Cody Rhodes promos, you'll know that the American Nightmare is an emotional guy who often finds himself tearing up. From the Indies to AEW to his return to WWE, Rhodes wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's something the 2023 Men's Rumble winner is well aware of. While speaking to Kevin Kellum of WrestleBinge, Cody said he realizes just how emotional he gets on TV, but just can't help himself given the magnitude of what is happening at the time. He explained, "I'm always hip and keen to the amount of emotion that happens with me on television. Everything everyone has been watching since I came back at the Royal Rumble is real. In an industry where there is a suspension of disbelief and areas of gray, this is the most real anything has ever been, trying to win a title that my family never got. The last opportunity we got for it was in the late 70s. It's as real as it gets. Coming back from a very real injury, trying to make it to the Royal Rumble, surviving Gunther until I was able to eliminate him, very real. I like that. I prefer that. I have the responsibility, but also to a degree, the burden of the character that I play is myself. That's what makes Finish the Story sound even better. It's a real story." At WrestleMania 39, Cody will enter the biggest match of his career, and no matter the result, expect the American Nightmare to show his emotions as he looks to finish the story and fulfill the promise to his late father. Now, for some time, MVP has tried to bring back the Hurt Business, and everyone except for Lashley seemed open to the idea. Now, though, MVP could be looking at a new faction, as on Instagram, the former US champion informed his followers that he was backstage in Boston talking to some people. Alongside that caption, MVP shared a photo of himself, the Street Profits, Omos, and most interestingly, NXT's Carmelo Hayes. And who would you like to see be managed by MVP under this new stable? Earlier this week, we reported on Austin Theory, whose nickname The Now has caught the wrong kind of attention. Since 2006, indie tag team Vic Delicious and Hale Collins have referred to themselves as The Now, and recently claimed they have a trademark on the name. Vic recently spoke to the Hudson Valley Post and revealed that the team have sent 2 cease and desist letters to WWE, and should this not work, their next step is to file a lawsuit for trademark infringement. Vic said that he and Collins were shocked that WWE used the phrase and rejects the idea that this is just coincidence, saying that many people in the company know of the Now tag team. WWE have responded to one of these letters, saying they will look into the matter, and when Theory and John Cena were on the mic this week, there was no mention of the US champion's nickname. Interestingly, the Now is one of the names Bayley pitched for the faction that would become Damage Control, but if Vic and Collins get their way, no one will be using the Now in WWE. Over to AEW, as MJF, whose place as the top name in AEW, has meant that non-wrestling fans will soon be introduced to the Devil. Tomorrow night, the reigning AEW World Champion will be the guest on Impractical Jokers and has shared just part of what goes down on the show. In a clip shared to Twitter, MJF chops the cast of the show, and let's just say that the trio did not take their first chop to the chest very well. Between this and the fan at Revolution, it's clear that MJF will target anyone, even non-wrestlers, but has plenty of hate for the stars of AEW as well. Impractical Jokers is just one of multiple non-wrestling projects for the holder of the Big Burberry belt, who is set to appear in the upcoming Von Erich biopic, Iron Claw, and it is clear that MJF is wasting no time in establishing himself both in and out of the ring. As one of WWE's most popular superstars wrestling today, it's not uncommon for Liv Morgan's name to trend on social media, but it's usually for her performance in the ring. This week, Morgan attended a game for the New York Knicks, and her actions at courtside have had everyone talking. When the camera cut to Morgan and the commentators spoke about WrestleMania 39, an awkward moment ensued when Morgan seemed far more interested in the game than whatever the person next to her was saying. On Twitter, fans joked that the guy needed to take a hint that Liv wasn't interested, while others joked that they have seen a similar reaction when they share wrestling lore to friends and family. It wasn't long until Liv's name was trending on Twitter, and in a tweet of her own, the former SmackDown Women's Champion found the responses from fans hilarious. The WWE superstar went on to thank the New York Knicks for welcoming her, as well as presenting her with a custom jersey with her name on it, and she was able to have a good time despite this awkward interaction at courtside. And we're ending today with NXT, as Bron Breakker's next challenger was confirmed during this week's show. On the show, Carmelo Hayes made it clear that he plans on being the next NXT champion, and a title match between the two has been announced for NXT Stand and Deliver on April 1st. This match comes at an interesting time for Hayes, who has teased his exit from NXT for some time now, and it has been reported that WWE is in fact interested in bringing the former North American champion to the main roster. As we mentioned earlier, MVP has teased interest in managing Hayes, who is said to be well liked in WWE, but no plans have been publicly confirmed by the promotion itself as of this time. Like Hayes, Breakker is also someone WWE has had their eye on for the main roster for some time, meaning that this upcoming title match could likely have huge ramifications for the careers of both the champion and the challenger.